Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene from the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York. This scene will actually begin in the wake of 10 Point's earlier outbursts, and after a brief trip by the cabin in search, not necessarily for her packmate initially, but for his best friend, that shillelagh he has taken quite the penchant for carrying around. Alas, it seems he is in fact carrying it around. And as such, 10 Point is taken off again and has been wandering the Umbra in search of her packmate. And thanks to the blessings of Dana, is able to scan both sides of the gauntlet simultaneously. And so she'll be wandering, taking her helmet for him, and we will begin this scene with her emerging from the Umbra in an unannounced and potentially very abrupt fashion, right close in front of her packmate. Not all up in his business. She'll make a point of doing so a bit away, though perhaps somewhat masochistically, not quite out of striking range. But yeah, as Aiden is wandering the trail, doing whatever he's up to, she will just kind of pop out in front of him.
So yeah, as Lynch is moving quite quickly away from his guardian duties, actually looking for said packmate in terms of getting some business done with the shillelagh over his shoulder, she pops out right in front of him. He just lets it, geez, fuck, you know what I mean? And takes a couple of steps back, customarily, not ready at all. 10 Point, what did I tell you about doing that?
And she will very quickly drop to her knees and throw her head back. Apologies, Raya.
Right. So why'd you have the need to frighten the living Jesus out of me?
I needed to speak to you, Raya. Predator's focus, Raya, has been busy, not available.
Yeah. Baileen's been busy a lot of days. Right, what is it then? Menzies like walking, moving towards more kind of private, out of the way type of area, so the two packmates can chat basically.
Mm-hmm. And she'll, let him take a good lead before easing up to follow, as she doesn't want to jump the gun on rousing without permission. But yeah, as he strikes off, she'll rouse up and follow, head kind of ducked as she often does, to kind of give the impression of greater height to him, regardless of the antlers.
Yeah, probably like once they're in a bit more private, you'll turn around and lean against like one of the trees. So what's the issue?
And he'll whirl about and catch her kind of scrubbing self-consciously at a cheek, just to make sure it's properly dry. That probably isn't helping with making her a little bit on the red side. And she'll go ahead and ease up again. And this time Neil, drop again very promptly to her knees, but much closer within his reach. Not quite in his personal space per se, but well within grabbing range.
Give her kind of this perplexed look. You've been crying?
I need to make a confession, Raya, and while you are not a Philodox, I don't think that Jacob Raya is prepared to offer absolution.
All right. He kind of rubs his eyes. What confession is this then?
I think I've lied to you, Raya.
Lied to me? About what?
And some more of that, not immediate gripping kind of terror, but just kind of this dread will leak out a bit through the link as she kind of timidly confesses, "I'm not ready, Raya."
Not ready for what?
And she looks down and gives her head a shake, kind of to as if she can kind of jostle it out of her head and off her tongue. "I'm not ready to die, Raya."
Hmm. Is this because what happened with the pizza then?
"I don't know. I guess."
Have you ever been wounded in battle before, 10 Point? Severely?
"No, Raya."
Not. What that is called shock. It's what most grew from lupus to Melis to Hamid experience in their first ever war wounds.
"But I have been hurt badly before, Raya. I have been beaten within an inch of my life. But this is different. And I'm not ready. And I'm supposed to be."
Nobody's ever ready to die, 10 Point. And those who are fools. They think they are. No one's ever ready for death. Not me, not Balian, not Banshee. No one. But it's our duty to push, no matter how much we're afraid. Because we're all afraid. That's what they don't like to tell us when we're out there in the fight. Everyone's afraid.
But Raya, my entire life, the only thing I'm supposed to do is die.
And he'll sit down against the tree, and probably to get to her level, and look at her, moving the shillelagh in between his hands. Do you finally understand what I've been teaching you all those times in the training ground?
She's blatantly kind of thrown back both by the easy acceptance and by the fact that he's just kind of hunkering down and getting comfortable instead of getting angry. She doesn't seem to have much of an idea of how to cope with either one, and her eyes probably fill again. She'll set him on the ground in an attempt to keep that under wraps. She's still doing fine in the pack link. She's got her curtain covering how she's feeling, but it's easy enough to catch. She's not a subtle person.
Don't lying to yourself and pretending you're fine either. That's even a bigger sin.
Sorry, what do you say?
No point in lying to yourself and pretending it's fine and trying to hide it. That's an even bigger sin.
I didn't think I was lying, Raya.
In a way, you are, because you're afraid that you've seen the truth of what it is to being a Metis. And in a way, what it is to me, a Garrow, in ways. Garrow of your breed. The reality of it is there, right in front of you.
But I've always known, Raya.
You've always known and always told. Beaten, yeah. But you've never experienced it. I could tell from the moment I met you. That's what I tried to show you. Fear. True fear. And how do you feel about it?
And about that point, she's probably outright trembling and puts a hand up. Still just kind of settled on her knees, but puts a hand up and starts kind of scrubbing across her face. Well, it worked. And now I'm afraid.
Good. Now comes the next most important lesson that defines what you are. Because some live in that fear. They consume themselves with it. Take a look at William White. He's a man eclipsed by fear. Even myself, I have my fears, my worries. Balian does, Banshee does. But what separates us from them, what separates you as a metis, is you control it. You'll always be afraid of dying. Nothing's going to change that. But it's what you do in that fear. Do you freeze or do you act?
I know it's wrong, Raya, but I want to freeze.
When I froze the last time in fear, my father died right in front of me. And I froze. But then rage happened. And I discovered that I was, well, this. But my father still died because I didn't react. Because I was afraid. If you freeze, you're going to have to live with the consequences that come from that.
I wouldn't let you die, Raya.
Then why are you crying about it?
I don't know.
I think you do.
She continues to look down. Though at this point both hands are up. Kind of pressed not in like the dramatic soap opera way over her eyes, but just kind of the palms are pressed beneath them. The fingers curled in just to kind of try to, as if she could force the tears back in her head.
You're going through what all homins accept when they first change to a point. We're going to die young. And we'll die bloody. And you'll be one of the first ones, probably.
But I'm not ready.
I'm not either. But hey, Balian isn't, Banshee isn't. None of us are ready for death. None of us can say we ever will be. But we make that decision to go out and fight, no matter what. Because we're Fianna. Even you, who met us, is still a Fianna met us. That's what separates us from them, from the Get, from everyone. We harness our fear and use it to build our rage.
And she finally just kind of curls down. It's kind of a pitiful display, like to the point where her brow is like inches from the ground, just kind of curls over.
You're wanting me to beat you now, aren't you?
I thought it would make it better. I shouldn't be afraid, but I am. I'm so afraid that I don't know why.
That's the
Stag
lesson.
would have let me.
That's the lesson, 10 point. I can't beat you for learning.
She actually chokes on that. And it's muffled by her hands and the ground. I'm not supposed to be afraid. I'm supposed to hold up my head and march in anyways. I don't want to.
Do you think any of us really want to go out there? Do you think Eric Raya wants to go out there every night? Do you think I want to go out there every night? Balian, Banshee? Do you think any of us really want to go out there when it could mean our death? Why we paint ourselves? Because it will give it some protection. Every warrior is afraid of dying at that point. And if they tell you they're not, then they're lying to themselves.
But I've done it before so many times. And it wasn't hard.
Because you didn't think. You didn't understand. You didn't accept the consequences of what will happen eventually. Because this is the one flaw that we Fianna do when we train metas. We don't prepare them for when the reality hits. That's what I'm doing. Because there's no sugarcoating it. That first lesson I showed you, you're going to die. Heaving, crying, and screaming. There's nothing glorious about it.
And yeah, not all the burying her face in the world is going to hide the noises that are blatantly crying and snuffling and trying valiantly to hide it with the snuffling and whatnot, but failing miserably. She's still shaking and she's still curled over.
Now the question you have to ask yourself is, 10 point, what are you going to do now?
I don't know.
Are you going to wallow? And sit in your misery and feel sorry for yourself? Turn to the worm, like some people do?
She stiffens a bit at that. She doesn't stop crying, but He hit a nerve. It's obvious.
He just has a very blank face. That's what some people do when they can't accept it. They don't want to die, so they cling on to the first thing that offers it to them. And it's oh so easy. Or are you going to go down to those training grounds and keep training, keep fighting? Every battlefield, you accept death. You're afraid of it, you're horrified, but you accept that it's going to come one day. You'll greet it as a proud Fianna, regardless. And if you save one of us and your life is taken, no matter how gruesome or how quick or how slow it is, then you know beneath that fear you've done the right thing. And you can meet Stag honorably at the end.
And there's a long silence before she kind of croaks out. I wish you had hit me. It would be easier.
Of course it would be. But that's not how I operate. If I need to beat you, I will. And I'll beat you severely. But this lesson is the most vital lesson because all the pain in the world from this shillelagh will never encapsulate what it's done to you right now. This lesson will last forever in your mind. Because it's a lesson I learned. That's true pain, 10 point.
I don't know what to do.
You have your options. I was an innocent man. I would hope you would go on and keep fighting. But there's the option to give up if you want.
She'll finally rear herself up again, and she'll make a final kind of swipe at her cheeks, but there's still tear tracks there. And even as she's sitting up, more are going to roll down her cheeks.
He'll get up very slowly, like hefting up, and puts the shelly over his shoulder and walks over and just gently with the palm of his thumb just pushes your cheeks away.
And potentially for the first time, she will actually look him right in the eyes and plead with him. Raya, please tell me what to do.
I've already told you. You learn, you fight, you die. Face it, accept it, consume it, do whatever you have to. But don't wallow in it. Don't let it fester, because then you become what your parents made you. The worm. Because they were afraid. And he kneels down right in front of her, so his eyes are fixed on her, but there's a very cold stare, there's no evil, sadistic smile. They were afraid. And then they made you. All the blame from them. Well, they got the quick death, didn't they?
Yes, Raya.
And their punishment was given to you, and now you have to suffer the long, slow death that every Metis has to suffer. Some, like Talate, will rebel against it, shout it, scream it. Some, like Forlorn, will make fools of themselves. And the real medicines, the real ones, they learn, they fight, they die like Guru should die. So which one are you?
He's still like eye locking her, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
No, he gets the special privilege of watching her face kind of fall again as more tears are produced.
You can cry, you can scream, you can beg, but it's not going to change right now, 10 Point. Right now, you are facing one of the biggest decisions of your life. Because eventually you're going to have to go for fostering. Eventually, you're going to be faced with things that you're not ready for. And if this is your reaction from your first combat wound, of this severity, how can you hold yourself together? So I ask again, which one are you?
And she drops her gaze, scrubs her cheeks again. Those silly fingerless gloves she wears are probably far, far from dry at this point. But still, she makes the fervent attempt again to wipe all the traces of tears from her face. There's no hiding, though, the flush and the blotchiness that comes with crying. I will be better than this, Shreya.
Don't swear to me. Swear to Stag. Swear to the tribe that made you and accepted you. Swear.
They shouldn't have,
Swear to
Shreya.
We take responsibility for our sins, 10 Point. That's what William White doesn't get. We, as a pack, took you for all your sins, for all your flaws, and we helped them because we care, because we are what we are, because Annie Fiona would do the same. And now, that is your role as a Fiona and also as a Metis. Your sins will cast a shadow on everybody, and it is up to you to make them right. I can't beat that into you. Balian can't. Banshee can't. But I can open your eyes. And only the way a Ragabash can. And he'll sit
So
there
much
waiting for the
easier
reply.
before, Raya.
Of course it was. Because you didn't have your eyes opened. You didn't think of the consequences. You didn't think. You just sat there.
I knew, Raya. I just didn't understand. Even when I thought they would beat me to death, it was not like this. I know that what I did was right, Raya. But doing what was right really meant I died tied to a vein. There would have been no homelands, no stag.
We have a job to do, 10 Point. And this job, this will be the test for yourself. We're going to hunt down those spirals. I need you to get that ritual ready.
It is not hard, Raya.
But when you're in that combat, that'll be the true test.
And she, whether it's because she's in an extremely vulnerable state or for whatever reason, finally kind of bows for it. And seeing as he's put himself so very close with her, so face to face, it's a bow forward that'll rest her forehead on his chest. The antlers probably curling up to either side of his face and over his shoulders. Thank you, Raya.
He'll nod. And at that point, there'll be commotion on the set over at the Guardian walls, and he'll look over at her and just nod, and he'll begin to run down, basically, which is probably where the scene will end, as Aiden will basically nod at her and get the ritual ready as he's running. And so obviously there's some commotion over from the set page.
And yeah, she'll struggle up to her feet and scrub at her face again and take off after him. Because following is so much easier. And with that, I think it is safe to say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. We'll see you next time on the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.